The Afreamer. Nah, you can't even use it.
Yeah, let's see. So yeah. Anyway, welcome to the first episode of the Kevin the Afreamer podcast, in short, the KTA podcast. I've spent the last couple of days, weeks, thinking about what I would talk about. Like, what would I talk about in the podcast? Would I have a guest? Would I have a guest? Would it just be me? Will I be preachy? Will I be if you used to follow me on Instagram, I used to do these walk with me type of things. Will it be that? Like, what am I really comfortable doing a podcast with? And you don't want to waste people's time. You want to come up with something great. And I've spent weeks, like, I even did teasers or promos of a podcast of what I was going to do. And then I thought of a great idea. I thought of a podcast where I bounce off somebody, and I was looking for someone who's perfect. Not necessarily perfect in the sense of that, but someone who I can have a rapport with. And there is a person that I know, and I did approach them, but you still gotta work on that. Anyway, whilst in those thought processes, something happened today, and it just clicked in my head of what I wanted to do. So, I'll just go to the part of the story. What happened today was, if you follow me, you know that I'm into training these days. I'm into lifting weights. I'm into doing all those good things. And as I'm training, I get a phone call. I don't normally answer phone calls when I'm in the gym, but I'm like, you never know. It might be a great opportunity. Let me answer. Now, I'm actually regretting because there's a guy who I'm avoiding. So I thought that was him. And the phone call goes, so, about your tests, your COVID test, it came back positive. So, unfortunately, you cannot come into work. And I'm going to need you to go get tested. And I'm like, damn. Here I am in the gym, and you're told this. And I'm there thinking to myself, okay, do I go home? Obviously, now you have to leave the gym, and now you have to start thinking, flip, everybody that I've been in contact with, everybody that I've touched, everybody that I've, walked with in the past, whenever this thing became a thing, yeah, and you're in there, and you're looking at it like, man, all those people will be affected by this. Who could have given me, and who could I have given, and how do we get to the bottom of this? What does this mean? What's next for me? All those thoughts that get into your mind. You're like, oh yeah, I had a little bit of a headache last week, and I felt confused. I had a little bit of diarrhea. Oh, okay. And as I was thinking about all this, a thought hit me like, this thing is killing people. I'm like, yo, this could be it for me. And when I thought that way, when I thought of it being the end, I was like, man, I'm at peace with it. Like, I'm just cool. I'm like, it is what it is, And as I was thinking, it's like, what do you do? So I went and got the proper test, like not the work test, but the one by the government. And they're like, you have to self-isolate for the whole day. And I'm like, wow. And then as I'm isolating, you now have to start telling people like, yo, I'm sick. Yo, like, my test result came back and I'm positive. I told my mom, we have a conversation, because I don't want to alarm people, especially if I was to have a false positive, but then you also want to alarm people in order for them to protect the people they love, and for them to know this is what's going on. So, but before I make that radical move, I had to wait. So I'm waiting the whole day. I'm going crazy now, because I'm someone who spends a lot of time in my house by choice, but when I'm forced to stay inside, I go crazy. And I love going outside, especially now. I love work. Like, when I work, I like working. I like being active. I don't really enjoy just being stagnant and sitting around and feeling like I'm not doing anything, even if it's work from home and stuff. I just don't enjoy it. I love being out there hustling, doing the grind and doing all that good stuff. So I spent the whole day waiting for my results. I do any type of work that I can do inside. And then through this, my life, like, I start to see life in a different perspective. I'm like, man, this thing can end me. I'm thinking, man, there's so much I could have done. Like, I'm so young, and I'm thinking, it puts your life in perspective, because you start to look at things like, wow, I'm so afraid to do that. I was so afraid to talk to that girl. I was so afraid to try that business idea. I was so afraid to write my book. I was so afraid to make this podcast. Like, I've been procrastinating this. The amount of people who could have benefited from my voice now is just gonna go. Like, damn. And throughout the day, those thoughts have just been in my head. Like, wow. Like, so for the next 10 days, I'm just gonna be home. I'm gonna be doing nothing. Like, all the opportunities, because right now my life was just starting to have some form of momentum, and I'm just there thinking like, okay, so it's gonna be 10 days of just sitting at home, and you just gotta be mentally strong, and I knew the task ahead. Like, okay, it's the road to recovery, and then fast forward, I get a message, oh, your result just came in, you are negative. I just had almost 10 hours of stress. Not stress, but of thoughts, of negative thoughts in my head. And you just gonna come out and say, okay. You can say it, it is what it is, you can say it. I can't say it, but you can say it. And I now have to spend, whatever amount of time with my head, like, okay, it is what it is. There's not much that I could do to prevent what had happened, and I cannot take back my day or take back my time. I can only accept things the way they are. But in that moment as well, I started to think, man, like, how much I've lost because of that, because of this false positive. The work that I had got cancelled, and because we work in a way whereby if you test positive, you have to stay away, because a lot of times people don't have masks on when you're working. So once they take you out, that's it, and I'm like, so that opportunity is gone. The other side hustles, I couldn't do them because I had tested positive, and all those opportunities are gone, and my day is gone, and I'm just like, wow. So life goes on, it's like, oh, oops, life goes on. And it made me understand, okay, this is what they call a false positive, and there's a lot of things to be very grateful for, because whatever is lost, and we pick up and we move on, and we play the cards we were dealt. You deal with the cards you were dealt, and you accept it. There's nothing that I can do. Complaining and crying and whatever, whining about the whole situation won't change anything. But still, when I thought about it, when I think about that, I'm like, there's something wrong with that, though. There's something wrong with me having to accept the situation as it is, because it's not fair. And whilst I get it, complaining won't do anything for me, but you cannot deny that I was robbed of a day over something that I had nothing to do with, but it happened, and that's my day gone. Now, I would take responsibility for not having made many of these podcasts prior. I'll take responsibility for the life that I have, for the way that I've lived. I'll take responsibility for my actions. But somehow, in this world, what happens when there's a false positive? Who's held accountable? What are the consequences to those actions? How do you correct the wrongs that are done to me? If I'm only responsible for what I did, who's responsible for what I did not do? And that started to affect me, and it started to affect how I think and how I'm seeing things and how I'm processing situations. Because for me, what just started out as a false positive has now turned into lost opportunities, which have turned into a whole lot of paperwork to try and get back to where I was, because now I have to go get tested again and again and again just to prove that I'm not sick. However, what if a lab technician made a mistake yesterday and the wrong thing was put in my thing? They don't have to deal with it, but I now have to work 3 times as hard just to get, to prove that I'm taking this thing seriously. I've been self-isolating. I have to prove, I have to work 3 times as hard. And where I'm going with this is, a lot of you probably want to stop listening at this point, because where I'm going with this, I'm going to touch on a lot of things. Okay, the first thing being, people often say to me, Kevin, you should be very careful of people's first impressions. First impressions matter. You have to do that. But I feel like that statement is bullshit. Because if you have a first impression about someone and you hold on to that idea about someone, in as much as if they've shown you that they're a totally different person, then you have a problem. You cannot say your first impression of me when I walk into a room and I feel timid, that's how you're going to view me from now until the end. But when you see that there are things about me that are totally different, you cannot, you know what I mean? Like, your false first impression about me is like a false negative. Like, it's a false positive. Because whatever you think about me based on whatever your criteria of judgment, whatever you think of me and you see me as that and you refuse to see me as something else, that's a problem. That's a false positive. And that can result in me not getting a job. I have to deal with the consequences of your actions. I have to work 3 times as hard to impress you to get an opportunity to be somebody. You know what I mean? And there's something wrong with that. Like, in a way, we've allowed people, people have taken this power to say, yeah, I'm the man, I'm the lady, impress me. Who are you? Who are you that a lot of us have to suffer the consequences of your actions? There's a problem there. And I don't understand if I'm putting the point across that I'm trying to put, but people often ask me, like, here in North America, the people's favorite question everywhere you go is always about race, especially if you're black. And being in a place like Vancouver, you're normally one black person surrounded by 20 non-black people, and everybody listens to the news, social media, and things that happen in the States, and they're trying to bring it back to you to have a conversation. And a lot of times those conversations are very uncomfortable because, like I said, you are one person surrounded by 20 people, and they're all bombarding you with questions. And I started to think about it. People have a false narrative of what it means to be a black person and how they view black people. People have an opinion about what it means to be a black person. Right or wrong, whether you see color or you don't, or that's an opinion. And based on your opinion, you judge me. Whereas when you reverse it, I don't necessarily have an opinion on a white person or on an Indian or on I don't have an opinion at all. You're just a human being to me. But the other way around, there's an opinion, there's an element of an expectation, a way of treating me, with the recent things that have been happening in the world. You see the changes. People smile more, people do a little bit extra, which sometimes looks natural, sometimes it's very uncomfortable being in that situation, because you're like, yo, why are you doing too much? But people are trying, and I would never understand, because I don't know what it's like not to be black, but I understand what it is to be black and to see people of other races and try to interact with them at a level of where you're just a human being to me. You're just a girl, you're just a guy, you are just you, whether you are whatever you are, whatever you call yourself, you are that to me. You're just a human being, and we have interactions like that. But then my life, because of those false narratives that are out there, is built around making people feel comfortable. It's like this: if you're a black dude or a black person, when you like a girl that's not of your race, it's like the approach has to be unique. The approach has to be different because either they like you for your for your greed and for your whatever, or B, you have to approach it in a way that shows you're not, intimidating, you're not dangerous, you're not whatever. And it's like, why do I have to go through all that? Why? I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. Like, I'm sick and tired of having to do a lot of things to fit in or just to be accepted to have a normal day. Like, why should I walk around with a smile on my face to make you feel less threatened by me when you have a false read about me? Why do I have to live with the consequences of how you feel about me? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't mean to blanket people, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why do I have to try in order for you, And when I think about it, I'm like, yo, that's the thing with these false narratives that people have and that people come up with, and it just doesn't work no more. Like, we've reached a point where it's just not fair and it's just not okay. We cannot accept things like this. And where I want to take this, it takes us to it's a lot of layers to it. It's like your first impression of someone should not be how you judge them. Like, I think as a world, we need to get to a point whereby we accept people the way they are, and we choose to see them not with our judgmental lenses, but just as human beings, at a human being with compassion and whatever. It's like, I don't know what it's like to tell someone who's not black, like, when you see it's just skin, essentially we are the same. Like, I don't know what it's like. I guess that's how people treat each other in their races, which is weird, but anyway. So to all my friends, to everybody who knows me, don't approach me about racial issues in a way that I don't understand or in a weird way. Like, if you're going to talk about it, talk about it. What do you want to know? But don't be judgmental in how you carry out, and don't be ignorant to being like, I don't see color. Fuck. We all see the damn color, mate. It's how you see people. It's like, I see people. How you treat people. You cannot treat people differently based on their race. You have to treat people as humans, You have to respect human beings, and you have to act in a way and understand that whenever you have a false positive about someone, that affects their life, man. I can tell you this. The hardest thing for me ever being in Vancouver is moving into a room and the room stops and stares. And people are so clever with it. Like, they stare like, I just saw you. And then they look away, and it's like, yo, you feel that. And you feel the energy that people put towards you. A lot of times people are, when you're in a store, they're following you, they're looking at you, their interactions are weird. And you're like, yo, alright, to each his own, but don't be weird about it. And that's just based on false narratives that most people have in their heads, and that's not a good thing. And then I move this towards things like relationships. I've had issues with women for a long time. And this is another thing. Women are so judgmental, and I don't mean to bracket everybody, but there's an idea that people take a few things about you and they create a whole perspective on you. So for example, when you see a guy, I don't know, spending money on a girl, and you take that and you say, this is who you are, I'll bracket you into this thing and I'll stereotype you into this. This is who you are. And you're like, but that's not who I am though. That's who I was at that point, but that's not who I am. I am multifaceted. As men, we've been put into this thing as, you are masculine, you are evil, you are dogs, you're pigs, you're this. But it's like, no, I am just that in that sphere. Like, I'm multi-dimensional. There's more to me. And whatever your instincts are telling you about me, yes, that might be true, but I'm more than that. I'm more than all of that. And your false narrative, one time I was accused, and this was a big accusation. The type of accusations that can destroy someone's life, and it's all based on a lie. I break up with this girl, and she's like, you cheat on me. And I would cheat on you. Okay. And then you spend a lot of time like, what made her think that way? You see, that's the false positive. Now you're moving with that, and this is something that has been labeled on you, and you live with that. It becomes a part of you, and you live your life trying to correct that, and then all of a sudden you realize, that was never true. And then, in the words of Thomas Shelby, whiskey is a good elixir of truth. They refute you, they cheated, so they just, put it on you because it was easier to put it on you than on them for an action that they did. And when you do that, people have labeled you. People are like, this guy is this, but men ain't shit, mate. You did it. And you look at things like, a lot of times when women talk about men, the reasons that they broke up, really, are they ever wrong? In most cases, the dude did some weird shit, but really, is it ever, oh, nah, I wasn't playing my part, or oh, he wasn't this, and I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of people living on a pedestal, like I'm the man, I'm the woman, I'm the this, I'm not comfortable with you, I'm not this with you, I'm not this, and you have to dance around this thing that this person is not comfortable with. I'm just now at a point in my life where I'm sick and tired of all that. Like, I'm sick and tired of having to impress people. I'm sick and tired of having to go out of my way to let people give me opportunity, to let people let me in, to let people, ride with me or whatever. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of having to lower myself in order for other people to feel tall, having to bend myself in order for other people to feel warm. I'm sick and tired of having to play games. I'm sick and tired of all that. Like, I'm super sick and tired of a lot of things. I'm sick. One of the most things I'm very sick and tired of is just being afraid. Because one thing in my life that's happened, I've been rejected a lot of times to a point where by now I'm so scared of it. Like, you get rejected to a point where you start to think, man, something is wrong with me. So, and when I got this false positive, it just reminded me of like, man, it's like my life could have ended today. Oh, it's not. It wasn't gonna end, but I thought about it. I'm like, my life, this could have been the end. This could have been it for me. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't want it to be the end. I don't want it to be the end for my life. And it's just a false positive. But how many times have I been afraid of just trying based on false positives? I'm so scared of rejection that I don't even try. I don't even say hello if I like a girl, but I'm like, man, I'm done with that. I am so done being uptight. I'm done with procrastination. I'm done with negative talking to myself. I'm done with all that. I'm like, because at the end of the day, it's all just false positive. It's like fear is a false positive. It's not there. It's not real. It has consequences. There are consequences to being afraid. There are consequences to the life that we live, man. Everything has consequences. And for some reason, we are so terrified to try that we never do, that I never do. And I'm just like, enough is enough, You came for me. You got me. There are no consequences to your actions. And another thing I just wanted to talk about and touch about, people often say you should play the cards you were dealt. Man, I think you should play the cards you were dealt, but if you can get yourself a new deck or whatever, man, do it. A lot of people come from different situations and backgrounds. And the cards we are dealt, man, are sickening and are harsh. Because I don't know if you know who Francis Ngannou is. When you listen to that guy's story and you tell me he had to play the cards he was dealt. And when I look at my life, I'm like, play the cards I was dealt. What cards? What the hell was I dealt? What was I given? In the situation that I come from. What type of cards am I gonna play? What game am I playing? You can't do that. You can't tell people to play the cards that are dealt. You have to listen to what people are saying, because some people have really, really hard lives, man. And if those people have the strength to complain and look for solution, it's not playing the cards you were dealt. It's about, finding ways out of a situation, especially if you're born with a false positive. There are consequences to those situations. There are consequences. It's like when you look at your life and you say, okay, I am a black man, I am an African, I am an immigrant. These are the cards that have been dealt. This is the situation in front of me. What do I do? It's easy to lose hope. It's easy to, we walk with our defenses up. Like, I remember one time, man, I was in a sparring session, and when the sparring session was done, this girl walks up and hugs me. I was super defensive, and it just broke me, and I had to, act tough. But it's like I was playing the cards I was dealt, because when you're playing the cards you were dealt, your defense is always up. You're always alert. You understand the situation can go south at any moment. You are one person in a room and you're always under threat. It's like, those are the damn cards I was dealt. Think about how does it feel every time you switch on the TV, someone who looks like you is shot by the police, and every time you walk out, you see the police. Every time you're driving, there's a police car behind you. The levels of anxiety that you feel, mate, are out of this world. And people are like, oh, just play the cards you were dealt. It's like, one thing that drives me nuts and drives me crazy, I was at Superstore, real Canadian Superstore, and I was doing my grocery shopping, and this lady walks up to me. She's like, do you work here? Hey, what? And this is not the first time I've had encounters like this. But for me, the thing that irritated me, you don't have to be stupid. You don't have to be naive to know that in real Canadian Superstore, those people, the employees, they either wear purple and black, or they wear blue and black, or they have tags. They have something, in every retail store, especially in Canada, people have uniforms on. So it's very easy to identify an employee from just a random person. I looked at this lady, I was like, with my time. Nah, I don't work here. I remember another time I was wearing a suit, man. Imagine me in a suit. I was actually wearing a suit and I was walking out of a Dollarama. This lady walks up to me, she's like, do you work here? I'm like, I'm not going to use the word that I used then, but I was like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? What makes you people think that I have to fit whatever your idea is of who I am? Like, what gives you the guts to just you work here? What the fuck? People are crazy, man. And it's those things, and then people say play the cards you were dealt. What type of cards am I playing, mate? When people do that, that's disrespectful on a higher level. If I worked at the damn store, I'll be wearing the damn clothes, and I'll be super proud of working there. There's nothing wrong working at Superstore and getting your hustle on, but don't disrespect me, And we have to get baptized. I have to get baptized, because if I speak my mind, if I speak what's on my heart, and then it's like, oh, he's a bitter black man. Fuck you, mate. I ain't bitter. But if you disrespect me, I'm gonna check you. It doesn't matter you're 60 years old. Oh no, I'm scared. You see, that's the problem. Anytime you people are scared of people like me, we end up dead. And that ain't good. What type of cards should I be playing then? Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. I'm sick and tired. And whoever told people in this world, like, their opinion matters, like their whatever the thing is, people say, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, shouldn't. Man, screw you and you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, should do this, do that, do that. I'm not here to live up to your expectations, alright? I'm not on this earth for that. From today onwards, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna create my podcast. I'm gonna make my music. I'm gonna make a whole lot of money. And you people and your judgmental asses asking me if I work at a damn Superstore. Hell yeah, I own the damn thing. Ah man, I'm sick and tired of this bullshit that we have to live with, maximum recording time. But anyway, we continue. Yeah. So the next thing is I wanted to talk about with this podcast. So anyway, if you're listening to this, by the next time you listen to this, I should have a partner in crime. I'm trying to convince a friend of mine to do this with me. She's one of my favorite people on this planet. Like I say, the girl that hugged me and whatever. So I'm trying to get her to do it, but it's always gonna be hard to convince someone to do something that they didn't think about. But after this rant, they probably won't do it because I had a false positive and it's put my life in perspective and things that I have to try and things that I have to pursue and go for. You can't be afraid to jump into the fire, especially if the fire is out here to consume you. With that being said, I just wanted, give you guys some words of encouragement for listening until this far. If I was to encourage you, from my ordeals and from having this false positive, is I just want you to know that fear of doing whatever you want to do in life, or procrastination, you just have to look at it as a false positive. And the thing with false positives is they're not real. They're real, but they're not real. And there are real consequences to having false positives in your life. It can be the difference between a paycheck and not getting a paycheck, being in a relationship, not being in a relationship, having a friend, not having a friend, having a business, starting a business, or not starting a business. And there are consequences to all that. And you have to be very careful about the things you're afraid of. And you have to understand that there are consequences to any result. If I had a negative result, my life would have gone on as usual. But because I had a false positive, it almost took away a day from me. And I can look back at my day and say it was a loss. But for me, it was a moment of reflection and the ability to create something special called the Kevin the Afreamer podcast. Hopefully we will change it, because I want to call it dance partners, but then I need my dance partner. And so yeah, the one thing I'll always say and I keep on saying is believe in yourself, believe in whatever you want to do. Be tired of this world, be tired of people judging you. Like, that ain't cool. It's not cool judging others, and don't have false positives about people. But the other thing is, don't be naive too, If people show you who they are, trust me and believe them. But don't put yourself so high and mighty. Don't be high and mighty over other people, because people have a life and so do you. Always treat people well and treat people as they deserve. And yeah, if you guys have anything you want me to talk about, let's talk about it. It's your boy Kevin. I'm out. Dun, 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 dun. Lean on me.